Hey everyone, Sarah here from sarahsbites.com. Today I'm showing you how to make this quick 10-minute bread that you can make in a pinch when you need some for dinner or for lunch, and it requires no yeast and no oven. So let's get started. In a large mixing bowl, go ahead and add in about 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and then you'll need 2 teaspoons of baking powder, as well as 1 teaspoon of salt. And then go ahead and add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You can also use vegetable oil. And we're just gonna quickly stir this together. Next up, we're gonna add in 1 whole cup of Greek yogurt. So just plain Greek yogurt, not the vanilla or any flavored kind. And you can also use regular plain whole milk yogurt. It just tends to be a little bit runnier, so you may need to add a little bit more flour as you're mixing. That's why I go ahead and stick with the Greek yogurt, and the yogurt is gonna help keep this bread soft and fluffy. And then we're also going to slowly, as we're mixing everything, we're gonna add in 1.5 cups of water, and it does not have to be warm since we have no yeast here, but just make sure you're slowly and gradually adding it in. And I would love to know in the comments below what your type of favorite bread is. I know a lot of people like sourdough, and I'm just not a fan. So I love these quick little breads, and I also love French bread. So let me know what's your favorite. And don't be afraid to use your hands here and just get messy with it. Dough is best made when you're kneading it with your hands. So we're going to start kneading it a little bit in the bowl, and then just transfer it to your cutting board or whatever surface you're gonna use. And we're gonna knead it for maybe a minute or so. We just wanted to start developing that gluten, and so it can start becoming fluffy, especially since we're not using yeast here. We're just gonna have to work it for a minute or two with our hands. I use my favorite bench scraper to split the dough in half, and then I knead each one of those portions for another minute or so because it's just a lot easier to work with a smaller portion of dough than kneading that giant big ball of dough. And I'll link the bench scraper in the description below because it's one of those tools that I feel like everyone has to have. You can use it for so many different things. I love that thing, and it's really cheap on Amazon. And if you press into the dough with your finger and it bounces back up, that's how you know you don't have to work it anymore. So just make sure both portions of the dough are ready to go, and then you can use a couple different techniques into cutting these up the same size. So one way you can do is just cut 8 wedges out of this circular piece of dough, and you'll have pretty similar sizes of dough balls that we're going to create later. Or what I like to do here is almost sort of make like a log, more like a rectangular shape, and then I cut that into 8 pieces. So whatever method you prefer, they don't have to all be the same size. They don't have to look perfect at all. And as far as rolling the dough, I like to just sort of use my fingers, index fingers and thumb fingers, to tuck the edges of the dough under. So you're going in a circle almost, and then tucking it all under, and it kind of creates a ball of dough. And you can also sort of cup it between your thumb and index finger and roll it on your countertop. That's an easy way to do it as well. Just do what naturally comes to you, and keep the towel over the completed ones so that they don't dry out. And next, we're gonna just grab some parchment paper. You can get a plate or really whatever you want. And we're going to start rolling these balls of dough out. So sprinkle a little bit of flour on your cutting board or surface, and then you're gonna use a rolling pin to roll the dough out into a little circle. You don't want this to get too flat because we do want the dough to fluff up a bit when we're dry frying it. And of course, I'll have the ingredients listed below in the description box, as well as on sarahsbites.com. It's a little bit easier to read on the website, and you can also print it if need be. And please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up below if you do end up trying the bread, if you like it. And I would love to know how it turned out for you, because this is just such a quick recipe. It's so easy and fun to make. I like to use parchment paper here just because it prevents the dough from sticking. So they're just going to be so much easier when we warm up our skillet or cast iron pan to transfer them onto there. And once you roll them out here and sprinkle them with flour, they're not going to dry out, so you don't have to cover them at this point. And keep in mind, you guys, you can always make this dough in your KitchenAid stand mixer or whatever stand mixer that you have, because it is a little bit quicker than kneading it with your hands. I just think the kneading process is so soothing, and it's pretty quick because we're not having it rise or anything like that. So really whatever you prefer, but the KitchenAid will be a little bit quicker. Next up, we're going to grab our skillet. I like to use a cast iron pan here, so it's already pre-seasoned. We're not going to use oil. We're going to dry fry this. So make sure it's heated up super well. So I would say medium-high heat, and then turn it down to about medium heat and throw on your dough. And then in about a minute or so, you're going to flip it over once, and you'll see once you start flipping it, it'll start to rise. So I like to flip it again one more time back to its original side, and that's when it really starts to puff up. So just make sure that you are keeping an eye on the temperature of that cast iron pan, especially if it's cast iron, because that thing will get super hot and it'll just sort of keep the heat going. So keep a temperature, keep an eye on it so that you don't burn your dough, but you also don't want it to be too low to where your dough is not going to rise. And you can definitely also use a non-stick skillet. Just make sure you're not adding any oil to it. And I really hope you guys enjoy this recipe. That is all there is to it. I know the kneading portion takes a little bit, it's like 2 or 3 minutes, and then making the balls of dough, but I think that's the fun part. So it's kind of like a stress reliever. So I hope you guys love the recipe. Let me know in the comments below if you give it a try, and I will see you guys next week with another recipe video. Bye.